awesome fight at light heavyweight because we have the original Michel Pereira. Nah, I'm just kidding. We've got Johnny Walker taking on Ryan Spann. And listen, Matt, we talk about Striker's Paradise, but these are some of the longest fighters that you're really going to find at 205 pounds. One guy 6'6", one guy 6'5". Incredible striking out of both of them. Johnny Walker, of course, expending an incredible amount of energy in his fights, especially early. But it worked out in his favor to start. I mean, Khalil Roundtree, incredible finish. The Justin Ledette fight. How can you miss it? The Misha Cirkunov fight, amazing. Misha Cirkunov's a good fighter. He just has to kind of set things up, and Johnny Walker didn't give him that chance. Now, in the next two fights, Corey Anderson, Nikita Krylov. I mean, Corey Anderson, you can say what you want about Beast in 25-8 and the fact that he's over in Bellator now, but that was more out of his choosing than it was the UFC just totally cutting him. Yeah. Because really, if you're Corey Anderson, you have a better path to a title with Bellator than you do with the UFC. But in that fight, oh my gosh, the hype train's over for Johnny Walker. So then he comes back out in his last fight. Yeah, I know there's levels to this. And Johnny Walker comes out and fights Nikita Krylov. And Nikita Krylov absolutely ran train in that fight and he looked really good.
You know what's never good? When you see a fighter lose definitively in two different ways. I would much rather a fighter just have one weakness that they really have to fix. And again, just because I watched a lot of the fights from favorite fighter, like Dustin Poirier didn't do well against Khabib, but he does well against everyone else. It's just okay. If you can figure out that one part of your game, maybe you have a chance against them. But for Johnny Walker, he gets knocked out by a guy who never wins by knockout in Corey Anderson. And to me, that fight was a really good example of a guy who just thought he was going to win. Johnny Walker walked in there like he was going to flying knee his...
Like Maria Agapova and Shayna Dobson.
A little similar to that, but the problem was Corey Anderson did something he had never done before. He just decided, okay, what if I actually go forward and start throwing punches? There was a lot of bad blood behind that fight, and Corey Anderson looked great. The Nikita Krylov loss, I think, is a lot worse than the Corey Anderson one, though, because yes, anyone can get clipped in the first round. Anyone can get hurt. You know what anyone can't do? Just get dominated for 15 minutes on the ground. And that was a lot of that fight. Krylov's top control was a lot for Johnny Walker, and we saw him get tired as the fight went on. And what I'm about to say about Ryan Spann isn't all that complimentary either. Ryan Spann against Sam Alvey, and really just throughout his UFC career, he's so good in that first round, and he really likes to set his combinations up. He's got good leg kicks, and it looks like for 5 minutes he's like this really well-rounded martial artist. He's got good movement. He's a big guy for the weight class. He's really athletic. I could go on for days. But the second that second round comes, you're not seeing the same fighter. And I swear if the third round comes, it's not even recognizable because the amount of cardio that he just has to exhaust throughout the fight to really let his hands go is surprising. And the really good Ryan Spann fight that I go back to is the Nogueira fight. Because Nogueira hurts him with a left hand, has Spann kind of hurt, and then Spann lands a shot on Nogueira that hurts him, and then he goes into his finishing sequence from there. But an older Nogueira was able to stun him. He has cardio issues. Now, Johnny Walker also has those same issues, so I'm just kind of saying this is sort of an overall blanket on the fight. If it goes into the third round, this fight's not going to be great. So I really see this as one of those, it's going to be over in the first round. You just kind of have to decide on who's going to win it.
Here's the trouble, Matt. I don't think Johnny Walker's had enough time to shore up all of those defensive holes in terms of his grappling. That's a really big red flag for me in this fight because that fight against Nikita Krylov was just over 5 months ago. For Ryan Spann, I don't know if his gas tank's gotten any better because his fight against Sam Alvey was 4 months ago. So it's a really tough fight to gauge. This is actually, for as exciting as this fight could be, because again, like you said, Ryan Spann is a jack of all trades in the first round. Submission threat, knockout threat. So long with his punches. He's one of those guys that does such a good job, especially when he's moving forward to keep his head back and throw his arms out. And he does a good job of mitigating damage. But that Sam Alvey fight, holy smokes, let me tell you something. Sam Alvey protested it and really thought that he won the fight. You can make an argument if you want, but that fight was way too close. If you're a Ryan Stans, I messed it up. Stan, it's tough. And if you're a big Johnny Walker fan, you want to see him get back over the hump, get a big win, and probably in impressive fashion. And the other thing is, I get it. He's gone to SBG. He's gone to TriStar. He's gone to Russia. He's been to all these different gyms, but not for like a finite amount of time. He's moved around, and that's great. That's great to get different training partners. And if you're already so confident in your skill set, well, then it's awesome to get to see kind of different parts of the world and do that and work out in Thailand and this and that. I don't know. I know, again, spent some time in Ireland recently. Maybe that'll work for him. I don't know. In this fight, if we look over at the votes on Tapology, out of 811 votes, 64% with Johnny Walker, 80% saying he's going to win by knockout. So the 36% that picked Ryan Spann, 53% saying he's going to win by knockout. If you look over at the odds, incredibly close. Johnny Walker opened as a minus 115. That line dropped really quick, rebounded. Now he's at a minus 127 average, like I said, on best fight odds. Ryan Spann opened plus 105, minus 105. Now he's at a plus 103. Incredibly close odds. The trouble is, I can see a path to victory so clearly for either guy that it's one of those ones where it's just a fade for me. It really is. I think it's an awesome fight. This is one where I sit back, I grab a nice Aquafina water and a bag of popcorn and just sit like an L1 weenie, an absolute square, and I watch this fight for what it's worth. I think it's an awesome fight. In terms of a pick, yikes. I mean, really, Matt, who are you going to go with here?
So when I simulate this fight in my mind, it only comes up with two possibilities. Either A, Johnny Walker does something crazy that knocks out Ryan Spann early, hits with a flying knee, a head kick, something of that sort. Or he goes for one of those big finishing moves, if you will, right out the gate. It misses, and he gets his back up against the cage. Because what we saw against Corey Anderson was, when he gets his back up against the cage, since he's such a tall guy for light heavyweight, if you're out in open space, he can lean back the majority of the time and evade your strikes. But he has that same problem when he's against the cage. When he's against the cage, he won't go left or right. He still tries to lean back, but you can't lean back. That's the whole issue. So you're really susceptible to big power shots. And Ryan Spann, I do think, would be able to take advantage of that. But I'm going to pick Johnny Walker and probably by TKO. I'm not overly happy with the pick just because we kind of know what we get with Johnny Walker. It's not going to be that exciting prospect who's going to eventually go up and beat John Jones anymore. He's an exciting guy. He's pretty wacky. He's crazy. But the shtick's kind of worn off, so what's left after the skill set? I think he's good enough to beat Ryan Spann, but I definitely don't think he's good enough to beat the Jan Blachowicz, the Dominic Reyes of the world.
So, I mean, I started the video off with the Michel Pereira reference, and he lost 2 in a row. I know the Diego Sanchez fight wasn't really a loss, but he lost 2 in a row, and then he flipped the script against Zalim Amadiev. And Matt, if you go back and watch the original pick for that video, I took Zalim Amadiev, great boxer, great amateur record, this, that, the other. I changed the pick with question mark kicks. So it's important that you watch question mark kicks on Saturday. It's a great opportunity to get a last minute idea and painting of a picture of the fights, including, I mean, what happens at weigh-ins and after weigh-ins and who weighed in and who didn't and all of that fun stuff. So in terms of this fight, it is a really tough pick. I'm kind of dancing around a little bit. I don't really want to make a pick, but I have to because I'm Fight Night Picks and I beat you in terms of the pick'em trophy.
Okay.
I will side with Ryan Spann in this one. I like the submission abilities. I like the forward pressure. If he's able to keep Johnny Walker at bay, if he's able to stay away from the spinning back elbows and the jump knees, he should be able to collect a decent paycheck and a win here. I think it's not the end of Johnny Walker, but I do like Ryan Spann in this fight. So I'm going with another underdog in this one, and it's been Underdog City.
Really?
Gotham? What's an underdog city? Detroit? Underdog City. Pittsburgh. I'm going with Ryan Spann in this fight. You're going with Johnny Walker. Yeah. It's a great one. You're not going to miss the rest of the predictions for the card, including extended look at our main event between 2 tough outs and Colby, Covington, Tyron, Woodley. Let's keep locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.